AITA for exposing my fiancée after she called me a rough sketch at our rehearsal dinner? I'm Andrew, 37, and by then Vanessa and I were close enough to the wedding that my phone knew more about centerpiece deadlines than I did. We had a shared calendar, 3 group chats, vendor reminder emails, family opinions coming in from every direction, and a guest list that seemed to mutate every time someone's aunt remembered a cousin. Vanessa was 34, and for most of our relationship, I thought I was lucky to be with someone who could make life feel more polished. She remembered people's birthdays. She knew exactly what bottle of wine to bring to a dinner. She could make grocery store cupcakes look intentional by putting them on a white plate and adding mint leaves around the edge. She was warm, funny, and confident in a way that made strangers lean toward her when she spoke. I'm quieter, not painfully shy, not socially helpless, just the kind of guy who doesn't need to be the center of the room. At parties, I'm usually the one refilling the cooler, helping someone move chairs, or talking to one person in the kitchen while everyone else is laughing outside. Vanessa used to say she loved that about me. She said I made her feel grounded. For a long time, I believed her. The first jokes were small enough that calling them out would have made me look like the problem. At a brunch with friends, Vanessa tugged the sleeve of my shirt and said, if I didn't help him shop, he'd wear this until it qualified for historic preservation. People laughed. I laughed too, because it was a dumb shirt joke, and I really had owned that shirt for too long. Another time, at a backyard barbecue, I was standing by the grill with Eric, my closest friend, when Vanessa came over with a paper plate and said to the group, Andrew's social battery is down to 8%, so if he starts nodding at the potato salad, don't take it personally. Again, everyone laughed. I rolled my eyes. It felt affectionate enough. Then it started shifting. At dinners, she would tell people I was simple in a good way, which sounded harmless until it became her favorite description of me. She told her friends I only survived social events because she translated me into human. She told her mother, Carol, that I needed soft management. Carol loved that phrase. Carol was the kind of woman who could compliment you and make it feel like a performance review. She was polished, proud, and very aware of how things looked. From the beginning, she treated Vanessa like a prize that had been temporarily misplaced in my direction. You know, Carol told me once while I was carrying a salad bowl to her dining table, Vanessa has always had a gift for improving people. I remember pausing with the bowl in my hands. I was standing right there, being discussed like a bathroom remodel. Vanessa laughed and said, Mom, stop. But she didn't sound embarrassed. She sounded pleased. After that, I began noticing how people repeated Vanessa's version of me. Her friends would say, you've really come out of your shell since Vanessa. Relatives would tell her, right in front of me, you've done wonders with him. At first, I tried to take it as a compliment. Maybe I was better at parties. Maybe she had helped me loosen up. But there's a difference between growing with someone and becoming their before picture. Eric saw it before I admitted it. One Saturday afternoon, Vanessa and I hosted a small barbecue. Nothing fancy. Folding chairs, chips in bowls, burgers on the grill, everyone standing around in that half-loud, half-lazy way people do when it's warm out. I had spent the morning cleaning the patio, buying drinks, marinating the chicken because Vanessa had forgotten she promised to bring something homemade, and running out to get extra ice when the cooler turned into soup. Vanessa walked outside in a sundress, holding a tray of sliced fruit like she had been directing the whole operation. This is why I keep him, she said, waving a hand toward me. He does the useful stuff so I can make it look cute. A few people laughed. Eric didn't. Later, while I was scraping burnt sauce off the grill, he stood next to me and said, you know that sounded bad, right? She was joking. She's always joking when she says something that makes you smaller. I didn't answer. Eric wiped his hands on a paper towel and looked over his shoulder at Vanessa, laughing with Melanie and 2 other friends by the patio table. She turned you into a before picture, he said. That irritated me, mostly because it landed too close. She's not like that, I said. Eric gave me a look. Then why do you always sound like her lawyer? I changed the subject. I asked if he wanted another beer. He let me, but I could tell he wasn't done with it. The wedding planning made everything worse because it gave Vanessa a bigger stage. I don't mean she did nothing. She had taste. She cared about details. She could look at a sample centerpiece and know it would photograph badly under warm lighting. She picked songs, compared invitation fonts, and remembered which relatives couldn't sit near each other without turning dinner into a court hearing. But she also hated the boring parts. Contracts, follow-up emails, payment schedules, correcting names, answering vendors when something went wrong, thank you notes. Anything that required patience after the fun idea had already been announced. That became my lane. The florist emailed because the final count didn't match the deposit estimate, and Vanessa forwarded it to me with, "Can you translate this into normal English?" The photographer needed a signed agreement and a deposit, and Vanessa texted, "I'm at lunch with Melanie. Can you just handle it? I'll Venmo you later." She did Venmo me sometimes. Other times she forgot. Other times I didn't ask because I hated making everything transactional. The caterer had questions about dietary restrictions, and Vanessa said, "You're better at spreadsheets. Please save me." So I saved her. Again and again. I corrected a misspelled relative's name on the invitations. I rewrote an apology email when Vanessa forgot to invite one of Carol's cousins to a shower. I drafted thank you notes after an engagement party because Vanessa said she was emotionally drained and couldn't write anything that didn't sound like a hostage letter. She posted a photo of the stack of thank you cards 2 days later with the caption, "The little details matter so much to me." I looked at the photo while sitting at our kitchen counter, my laptop still open to the document where I had drafted every single note. When I mentioned it, she came up behind me, put her arms around my shoulders, and kissed my cheek. "Oh, come on," she said. "We're a team. You're just better at wording things. I'm better at presenting them." At the time, I told myself that was teamwork. The first time I seriously asked her to stop making me the joke, it was after dinner at Melanie's place. Vanessa had told a story about me getting quiet during a big family event. She made it sound cute, like I had panicked because someone asked me to pass a serving spoon. The truth was that I had been overwhelmed because Carol had spent half the night telling people Vanessa had brought me up to her level. I had told Vanessa that privately in the car afterward, not because I wanted drama, but because I trusted her. At Melanie's dinner, Vanessa retold it as a bit. "Andrew looked like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper," she said, laughing. "Poor thing. Big rooms are hard for him." I didn't laugh that time. On the drive home, I said, "I don't like being described like a problem you solved." Vanessa stared out the windshield for a few seconds like she was deciding whether to be annoyed or patient. "Andrew, nobody thinks that deeply about it." "I do. Because you're sensitive about this stuff. I'm asking you not to use private things I told you as jokes." She sighed. "Everyone knows I love you. That doesn't make it feel better. It was one story." "It's not one story." She turned into our parking lot and put the car in park harder than necessary. "Do you want me to walk on eggshells every time we're around people?" she asked. Confident couples tease each other. That's normal. I didn't know what to say to that without sounding exactly like the insecure person she was already describing. So I stopped talking. That became a pattern too. I would raise something gently. She would tell me I was taking it wrong. I would decide it wasn't worth a fight. Then the next joke would get a little sharper because my silence had made the last one seem acceptable. By the month before the wedding, the story around us had become clear. Vanessa was the vibrant one. Vanessa was the planner. Vanessa was the one with vision. Vanessa was the reason I looked presentable, spoke to people, had a social life, and apparently understood which fork to use. I was sweet, lucky, useful, a little dull, grateful. Then came the rehearsal dinner. It wasn't the actual night before the wedding. It was one of those pre-wedding family dinners that becomes a rehearsal dinner because everyone keeps calling it that. Vanessa wanted both families, the bridal party, a few close friends, and what Carol called the inner circle together before the final stretch. The restaurant had low lighting, long tables, and the kind of menu where everyone pretends they know what the small words mean. There were candles and glass holders, folded napkins, and envelopes with updated seating notes that I had printed that morning because Vanessa forgot to send the final version to Carol. I remember that detail because Carol thanked Vanessa for them. "These are beautiful," Carol said, tapping the folder. "You really do think of everything." Vanessa gave a little shrug. "I try." I was sitting beside her, watching my own printer paper become another one of her thoughtful touches. Dinner started fine. People ordered drinks. Melanie showed photos from the dress fitting. Eric sat across from me and gave me a look when Vanessa joked that she had domesticated me enough to be trusted with linen napkins. I shook my head slightly. Not now. Then Carol gave a small toast. She stood with her wine glass and said how proud she was of Vanessa for creating such a beautiful life, and how excited she was to see me step into it. Step into it. Not build it with her. Step into it. A few people clapped softly. Vanessa squeezed my knee under the table like I was supposed to appreciate being included. Then Melanie said, "Andrew's been pretty involved too, right?" It was a small question. Maybe she meant it kindly. Maybe she had already heard enough and was giving Vanessa a chance to share credit. Vanessa smiled. "Oh, Andrew helps," she said. "In his way." Eric put his fork down. Carol laughed. "Vanessa has always been good at bringing out potential." Vanessa leaned into it. That was the part that stayed with me. She didn't get trapped by the moment. She chose it. "Honestly," she said, looking around the table, "sometimes I feel like I'm marrying a rough draft I had to edit." The laughter started automatically, because people were used to laughing when Vanessa made a joke. Then it thinned out. Someone coughed. Melanie looked down at her plate. Eric looked at me like he was waiting for me to finally stand up for myself. Carol smiled for a second too long before realizing the line had landed hard. I didn't yell. I didn't throw my napkin down. I didn't ask for an apology in front of everyone. Something in me settled instead. I remember looking at Vanessa and thinking, she doesn't respect me when the room is quiet either. That was the moment I stopped trying to convince myself she was joking. On the drive home, Vanessa acted annoyed that I wasn't talking. "You're doing the thing," she said. "What thing?" "Getting quiet, so I have to drag your feelings out of you." I watched the red lights slide across the windshield. "You call me a rough draft." It was a joke. It wasn't funny. It was funny until you made it weird. I turned my head and looked at her. The table went quiet. Because Eric was glaring like a bouncer. "No, because you said what you meant." She made a frustrated sound and tapped her fingers against the steering wheel. "Oh my God, Andrew. I'm stressed. The wedding is in a few weeks. My mother is driving me insane. Everyone expects me to be perfect, and you're mad because I made one joke." I didn't answer. Not because I had nothing to say. Because I knew by then that private conversations with Vanessa became material for public defense later. She remembered the parts that made her look patient and me look fragile. That night, around midnight, she posted a photo from the dinner. It was a polished couple photo, the kind where we looked happier than we had been. Her caption said, "Feeling so grateful tonight for everyone who has supported the life I built from scratch. Every detail, every gathering, every little piece of this season has come from so much love, vision, and work. So excited to bring Andrew fully into this world and keep building something beautiful. Bring Andrew fully into this world." Carol reposted it with, "My girl has always known how to create beauty." Comments rolled in. "You've planned everything so perfectly. Andrew is lucky. This wedding is going to be such a Vanessa masterpiece." I sat on the edge of our bed, reading them with my tie still hanging loose around my neck. Vanessa came out of the bathroom, saw my face, and said, "Please don't tell me the caption is a problem too." I turned the phone toward her. "Did you build it from scratch?" She crossed her arms. "Are we really doing this?" I paid the photographer deposit. And I picked the photographer. I corrected the catering contract. "Because you like boring paperwork." I wrote the thank you cards you posted. She stared at me like I had just brought up a grocery receipt during a breakup. "Do you want a public award?" she asked. "No, I want not to be erased." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic." I slept on the couch that night. Not as a performance. I just didn't want to be next to her. The next morning, I did something small. I stopped fixing things before they became visible. At 9:14 a.m., Vanessa texted me from the bedroom while I was making coffee in the kitchen. "Vanessa, can you fix the floors thing like you always do? I don't have the bandwidth." I looked at the message for a long time. "Me, that one is under your name. You should answer them." She appeared in the kitchen 30 seconds later wearing one slipper and holding her phone. "Are you serious?" "Yes. It'll take you 5 minutes. Then it should be easy for you." She stared at me. "You're punishing me." "No, I'm letting you handle the things you told people you've been handling." She laughed once, sharp and humorless. "Wow, mature." I poured my coffee. That week, the cracks appeared faster than I expected. A vendor called Vanessa directly about a balance due because she had ignored 2 emails. Carol texted the wedding group chat asking why a relative's name was still misspelled on the invitation correction list. A bridesmaid asked Vanessa if thank you cards from the shower had been mailed, because her aunt had mentioned not receiving one. The caterer needed the final count confirmed by Friday, and Vanessa forgot until Friday afternoon. Each time, Vanessa looked at me like I was supposed to step in. Each time, I didn't. One evening, she stood in the living room with her phone in her hand and said, "My mom is asking why Uncle Ray's meal preference is wrong." "Did you update it?" I asked. "I thought you did. You told me you had it." She narrowed her eyes. "You knew I didn't." "I knew you said you did." "That's not the same thing. It is when you keep telling people you're doing everything yourself." Her face tightened. "You're making me look incompetent." I didn't raise my voice. "No, I stopped making you look prepared." She walked out of the room and slammed the bedroom door. By the next day, the story changed again. People started texting me. "Melanie, hey, Vanessa said things have been tense. Are you okay?" A cousin of hers. "Weddings are stressful. Try not to take every joke personally." Carol, in the larger wedding group chat. "Marriage requires gratitude, Andrew. Vanessa saw potential in you, and that is not something to resent." I stared at that message while standing in line at the grocery store. The woman behind me was unloading apples onto the belt, and my phone was buzzing like a trapped insect. Eric texted me separately. "Eric, she's setting the room before you walk into it." Me, "I know." Eric, "Good. Then stop walking in empty-handed." I didn't want revenge at first. Not the way people imagine revenge. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to wreck anyone's dress or expose private pain just to hurt her. I didn't want to become the unstable man she had started describing. I wanted a record. So I opened my laptop on the kitchen counter that night, made coffee I forgot to drink, and started building a timeline. I named the file since everyone wants the full story. It wasn't a rant. I made sure of that. Dates, screenshots, receipts, emails, payment confirmations. Nothing I had hacked. Nothing I had stolen. Nothing from her accounts. Only messages sent to me, documents attached to my own payments, emails from my inbox, Venmo and Zelle records, and public posts where Vanessa took credit for things she had privately asked me to do. March 3rd, Vanessa asked me to handle photographer agreement. Screenshot attached. March 4th, photographer deposit paid from my account. Confirmation attached. March 5th, Vanessa posts, "So happy I secured the photographer I wanted." Screenshot attached. April 12th, Vanessa asked me to draft engagement party thank you notes because she can't make them sound warm. Screenshot attached. April 14th, drafts in my email. Screenshot attached. April 16th, Vanessa posts photo of mailed cards with caption, "Handwritten gratitude matters." Screenshot attached. May 7th, caterer correction email sent by me after Vanessa forgot final meal changes. Email chain attached. May 8th, Carol thanks Vanessa in group chat for staying on top of every detail. Screenshot attached. I kept going. The more I added, the worse I felt. Not because the evidence was weak, but because there was so much of it. It was like walking through my own relationship with a flashlight and realizing every shadow had been there the whole time. Then Melanie sent the screenshot. It happened 2 days after Carol's group chat message. Melanie called first, but I didn't answer because I was tired of live conversations that could be softened, twisted, or denied. She texted instead. "Melanie, I'm not trying to take sides, but Vanessa is under a lot of pressure. I think she vents in ways she doesn't mean." Me, "What has she actually told you?" Melanie, "Just that you've gotten cold and she feels like she can't joke anymore." Me, "Anything else?" There was a long pause. Then a screenshot came through. It was from a smaller group chat I wasn't in. I saw Melanie's name, 2 bridesmaids, and Vanessa. The screenshot looked like Melanie meant to show me that Vanessa had been just venting. Maybe she thought it would prove Vanessa was stressed. Maybe she didn't read far enough before sending it. The first message I saw was Vanessa's. "He's sweet, but honestly I'm the reason anyone takes him seriously." My hand went cold. Below it, another message from Vanessa. "He's boring but useful. Great behind the curtain as long as he doesn't try to take center stage." Someone had reacted with laughing emojis. Vanessa again. "Need advice for making him look less stiff at the rehearsal dinner. He gets that lost grocery store husband face in big groups." Then one of the bridesmaids asked if I was at least helping with money. Vanessa wrote, "He doesn't contribute much financially, but he follows directions. I'll give him that." I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at the screen, and I could hear the refrigerator humming louder than usual. Then I noticed the message underneath. Vanessa had written about something I had told her privately months earlier. After one of Carol's family dinners, I had admitted that sometimes I worried I was forgettable in big groups. Not disliked, just the kind of person people politely spoke around and forgot to include. It was not dramatic. It was one of those quiet insecurities you say to someone you trust because you think they will hold it carefully. Vanessa had turned it into a joke. He actually told me he feels forgettable sometimes, she wrote. Like babe, then be less beige. There were more laughing emojis. I took a screenshot immediately. A second later, Melanie deleted the message. Then she texted, Melanie, I'm sorry. Wrong screenshot. Me. Did she tell you I paid the photographer deposit? The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Melanie, I don't want to get in the middle. Me. You already are. You're just standing where she put you. She didn't answer for almost 20 minutes. When she did, the message was short. Melanie, I didn't know about the deposits. Or the thank you notes. She made it sound like you were barely involved. That was the twist for me. Vanessa wasn't making careless jokes in the moment. She had been rehearsing me privately for months. She had built a version of me before I entered rooms, so when she mocked me publicly, people already had somewhere to put the joke. I wasn't her partner in their eyes. I was the useful man she had elevated. The next night, I asked Eric to come over. He arrived with takeout neither of us really ate. My laptop was open on the kitchen counter, tabs everywhere, cold coffee beside it, printer paper stacked near the sink because the printer jammed 2 times and I had threatened it like it could hear me. Eric read the file without interrupting. That's how I knew it was bad. Eric always interrupted. When he finished, he leaned back and rubbed his face. Okay, he said. First, I'm sorry. You told me. Yeah, but I didn't want to be this right. I looked at the screen. I'm thinking of sending it. To who? The wedding group chat. Eric nodded slowly. Then take out these 2 lines. He pointed at the screen. I had written, Vanessa has lied to all of you because she likes applause more than honesty. And Carol helped because she cares more about image than character. Eric shook his head. They may be true. They're also the lines she'll use to say you're cruel. The facts are enough. Don't give her a sentence she can use against you. I deleted them. He pointed to another paragraph where I had written too much about how humiliated I felt. Shorten that too, he said. You can be hurt without handing everyone your whole bloodstream. I looked at him. That was disgusting, but accurate. For the first time in days, I almost laughed. After Eric left, I did the practical part. I contacted every vendor attached to my name, my card, or my email. To the photographer, I wrote, please confirm whether the deposit under my card is refundable and whether any future charges are scheduled. I am requesting that no additional charges be processed without written authorization. To the caterer, please remove my card from any future automatic billing. Written confirmation would be appreciated. To the rental company, please confirm the signed agreement, the balance due, and whose authorization is required for changes. I didn't cancel anything under Vanessa's name. I didn't sabotage her. I didn't call vendors and tell them dramatic stories. I just stopped being financially responsible for a wedding where I was being treated like a prop. The photographer deposit was non-refundable. Fine. I let that go. A few smaller deposits were partially refundable. One vendor confirmed no future charges would hit my card. Another asked if the event was being canceled. I wrote back, not at this time. I am only confirming billing authorization. It felt strange, becoming careful inside a relationship that was supposed to be built on trust. Vanessa noticed the vendor emails because she was copied on one of them. She came into the kitchen holding her phone, her face pale with anger. Are you canceling our wedding behind my back? No. Then why is the rental company asking about billing authorization? Because my card is on file, and I'm not allowing future charges without written permission. She stared at me. You're really going this far over one joke. You don't get to call it one joke when you built a whole version of me around it. Her eyes sharpened. What does that mean? It means I know about the group chat. For the first time, she didn't have a quick answer. Then she recovered. Melanie showed you private messages? She accidentally sent me a screenshot. Vanessa's mouth tightened. So now you're reading things out of context. Boring but useful doesn't need a lot of context. She flinched, then immediately turned it into offense. I was venting. Venting is saying you're frustrated. What you did was casting. That's such a dramatic way to put it. You told people I don't contribute financially. She looked away. I was making it sound funny. Why was that funny? She didn't answer. And you told them something I told you privately. Her face changed then, not into regret exactly, but into discomfort at being pinned down. I didn't think they'd take it seriously. You did. That's why you said it there, and not to me. She crossed her arms. What do you want from me, Andrew? I want you to stop lying about me. I'm not lying. I looked at her until she looked away first. The final dinner happened 4 days later. Carol insisted on it. She called it a chance to calm everyone's nerves before the final weeks. I almost didn't go. Eric told me I didn't know anyone a stage. But by then Vanessa had already told enough people that I was cold, punitive, and jealous of her confidence. If I skipped the dinner, she would use that too. So I went. It was at Carol's house. I won't describe the place except to say every surface looked like it had been arranged for guests who might judge dust as a moral failure. There was a long table, a stack of vendor folders near Carol's seat, wine glasses lined up on a sideboard, and phones face up everywhere because wedding people are never fully offline. Melanie was there, sitting stiffly near the middle. Eric came too, even though Vanessa looked annoyed when he walked in. A few relatives, 2 friends from the bridal party, Carol, Vanessa, and me. Vanessa looked tired but polished. That was one of her skills. Even upset, she knew how to appear wounded in good lighting. For the first half hour, everyone pretended we were normal. People talked about final fittings, weather, hotel blocks, and whether the seating chart still needed changes. I answered when spoken to. I didn't volunteer anything. Then Carol cleared her throat. I think we should address the tension, she said. Eric muttered, Here we go, quietly enough that only I heard him. Carol folded her hands on the table. Weddings bring out emotions. But marriage takes grace. It takes gratitude. She looked at me. Vanessa has worked very hard to create something beautiful, and I would hate to see insecurity ruin that. Vanessa looked down, like she was trying not to cry. I don't know how to reach him, she said softly. He's changed. I made one joke, and suddenly I'm being punished for being confident. A relative shifted in her chair. Someone else looked at me, waiting for me to either apologize or explode. Carol continued. Maybe you should be grateful someone like Vanessa saw potential in you. There it was again. Potential. I reached into the folder I had brought and took out the printed first page of the timeline. My hands were steady, which surprised me. I placed it in the center of the table. Then I sent the file to the wedding group chat. Phones started buzzing, one after another. Across the table, in purses, beside plates, against wood. Vanessa looked at her phone, then at me. What did you do? I said. You all heard the joke. Now you can see what she was laughing at. No one spoke for a moment. Not the big dramatic kind of silence where everyone gasps. More like people suddenly realizing the floor under the conversation had changed. Carol picked up her phone first. Her mouth tightened as she scrolled. Vanessa opened the file and went pale. Andrew, she said. I looked at the table, not just her. That file is records from my own accounts, messages sent to me, emails I was part of, payment confirmations, and public posts. I didn't hack anything. I didn't fabricate anything. I didn't include anything that wasn't already used to shape the way people saw me. Melanie's face was red. She was reading fast. One of Vanessa's cousins said, Wait, you paid the photographer deposit. I didn't answer. The receipt was there. Another relative looked at Carol. I thought Vanessa said she handled the photographer. Carol kept scrolling. A bridesmaid said, very quietly, These are the thank you notes. I glanced at Vanessa. The drafts are from my email. Vanessa pushed back from the table. This is insane. Eric leaned back in his chair. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Melanie looked directly at Vanessa. Did you tell us any of this was his? She asked. Vanessa's eyes flashed. That's not the point. It became the point, I said, when you told people I brought nothing. I didn't say nothing. I tapped the printed page. You said I didn't contribute much financially. I was venting. You said I was boring but useful. She looked around, realizing too late that the room had already read it. Someone whispered, Oh my God. Carol snapped, This is private. Couples should not air private conflicts in front of family. I looked at her. Your daughter aired me out for months. I'm adding context. Carol's face flushed. This is vindictive. A man at the far end of the table, one of Vanessa's older relatives, held up his phone. Carol, didn't you tell everyone Vanessa handled the deposits herself? Carol opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I was told, she said. The room shifted after that. Not everyone turned on Vanessa. Real life doesn't move that cleanly. Some people looked uncomfortable and stared at their plates. One bridesmaid got up and went to the hallway. A cousin kept scrolling with her eyebrows drawn together. Someone in the group chat wrote, "Can someone explain what's going on?" Then another message appeared. "Vanessa, is this real?" Then, "I thought Andrew wasn't involved with those payments." Vanessa's phone buzzed again and again. She started crying. At another point in my life, that would have ended everything. I would have softened. I would have lowered my voice, maybe apologized for the timing, maybe agreed we should talk privately. I had done that many times. Her tears had often turned the conversation from what she did into how badly she felt being confronted. This time, I stayed still. "You're humiliating me," she said. I looked at her, and I did feel sadness. Not victory. Sadness that the person I had planned a life with could look at the truth and only see the injury to her image. "No," I said. "You used humiliation as entertainment. I'm using receipts as context." "That's cruel." "So was telling people I'm forgettable." Her crying changed then. Not stopped, exactly, but sharpened. "You know how people are," she said. I had to make it sound funny. Why did I have to be the joke? She didn't answer. Carol reached for Vanessa's hand, but she was reading the screen again. I saw her expression crack when she reached the part with the seating notes. The same notes she had praised Vanessa for at the previous dinner. A relative said, "My name was misspelled twice, and Andrew fixed it?" Vanessa snapped. "This is not about invitation typos." "No," Melanie said, voice quiet but firm. "It's about you letting us think he was useless." Vanessa glared at her. "You're one to talk." Melanie looked down, and for a second I thought she would retreat. Then she said, "I thought you were venting. I should have asked more questions. But you lied." Carol tried again. "Andrew, if you had concerns, the mature thing would have been to speak privately." I gave a short, tired laugh. I did. In the living room. In the car. After dinners. Every time. I was too sensitive or couldn't take a joke. Vanessa wiped her face. "Because you were making normal teasing into some huge attack. You don't get to say normal teasing when you built a private group chat around making me look small." She shook her head. "I was stressed. I needed somewhere to vent. You needed an audience." That landed harder than I expected. She looked at me like she wanted to deny it, but the file was open on half the phones at the table. I reached into my jacket pocket and took out the ring box. I had put her engagement ring in it earlier that day after she left it on the bathroom counter during a shower. I hadn't planned a theatrical moment. I still didn't want one. I placed the box on the table between us. Vanessa stared at it. "No," she said. "I'm not marrying you." Carol said, "Andrew, don't be rash." I looked at Vanessa, not Carol. "I'm not marrying someone who needs me to be smaller in public to feel secure in private." Vanessa's face crumpled again. "So that's it. You're canceling our wedding in front of everyone. I'm ending the engagement in front of the people you convinced I was the problem." This could have been a conversation. It was. "You kept inviting an audience when you thought they'd laugh with you." I stood up. Eric stood too. Not dramatically, just like he was making sure I didn't have to walk out alone. The group chat was still buzzing. Messages layered over messages. Is the wedding canceled? Maybe everyone should stop texting until they talk. Vanessa, please answer. This is getting uncomfortable. Andrew, are you okay? I didn't answer any of them. I looked once at Carol, whose face had gone stiff in the way people look when pride is being rearranged in public. Then I left. The fallout started before I reached my car. Vanessa called 4 times. Carol called 2 times. Melanie texted, "I'm sorry." A bridesmaid wrote, "I thought that was just how you two joked." Eric drove behind me to make sure I got home, then came inside without asking and helped me gather the wedding documents from the kitchen counter. I didn't cry until I saw the stack of invitation correction envelopes. That was the thing that got me, not the ring, not the group chat, not even the screenshots. Those envelopes were so ordinary. Names, addresses, little mistakes fixed carefully because I had wanted our guests to feel considered. I had done those things because I thought I was building a life with someone. Eric found me standing there and said, "You don't have to pack everything tonight. I want the wedding stuff out of sight." Okay. He didn't give me a speech. He opened a box. The next few days were ugly, but not cinematic. No one threw drinks. No one showed up screaming outside my door. It was mostly emails, calls, logistics, and the slow collapse of a story people had accepted because it was easier than questioning the charming person telling it. I sent vendors clear written instructions. For anything under my name, I canceled or removed my card where I legally could. For anything under Vanessa's name, I told them to contact her directly. I separated the wedding savings that belonged to me and documented the transfer. I didn't touch anything that wasn't mine. I didn't weaponize confusion. I had no interest in creating a mess I would have to explain later. Vanessa sent long messages at first. Vanessa, I can't believe you did that to me. Vanessa, my mother is devastated. Vanessa, you made everyone think I'm some monster. Vanessa, please talk to me without Eric in your ear. Then the messages got angry. Vanessa, you wanted to embarrass me. Vanessa, you were waiting for a chance to make me look bad. Vanessa, congratulations, everyone feels sorry for you now. Then, around midnight on the third day, she sent one that sounded different. Vanessa, I was scared everyone would realize I needed you more than you needed me. I read that one several times. The next morning, I agreed to one phone call. Not in person, not at our apartment. One call, because there were practical things to confirm and because part of me needed to hear whether she understood what she had done. Her voice was hoarse when she answered. I miss you, she said. I closed my eyes. Vanessa, I do. We need to talk about logistics. I know. She exhaled. I panicked. The wedding got so big. My mom was telling everyone how perfect everything was, and I felt like if people saw how much you were doing, they'd think I couldn't handle my own life. So you made sure they thought I couldn't handle mine. Silence. That wasn't how I saw it at the time, she said. How did you see it? As harmless. As jokes. As. She stopped. As keeping control, maybe. At my expense. Yes. It was the closest she had come to admitting it. For a second, I felt the old pull. The part of me that wanted to find a repair, a reason, a way to turn one honest sentence into a bridge. Then she said, but what you did at my mom's house was cruel too. And there it was. Not remorse without conditions. Not accountability without a counterclaim. She still needed the exposure to be equal to the behavior, so she could stand in the middle and call it complicated. I didn't leave because you made one joke, I said. I left because the joke revealed a system. She was quiet. I would have told people the truth, she said. When? No answer. When they already believed you. When the wedding was over. When your mom stopped introducing me like a fixer-upper? That's not fair. It's accurate. She started crying again, softer this time. I don't know who I am without this wedding, she said. I felt sorry for her then. Truly. But sympathy is not a contract. I hope you figure that out, I said. It can't be with me standing behind the curtain, making you look better while you call me useful. We finished the logistics. Short sentences. Vendor names. Refunds. Items at the apartment. Who would pick up what? No big goodbye. After that, I stopped answering emotional calls. Carol tried to. Her first voicemail was stiff and offended. She said family should solve things privately and that I had embarrassed her daughter beyond measure. Her second voicemail, 2 days later, was colder. She said I had no idea how much Vanessa had done for me. I deleted both. A week later, one of Vanessa's relatives forwarded me a screenshot from a family thread. Not to stir drama, according to her, though people always say that while stirring. In the thread, someone had asked why Vanessa said she handled everything when so many receipts had my name on them. Carol replied, that is what Vanessa led us to believe. It wasn't an apology. It was Carol protecting herself. Still, it mattered. The story had changed. Melanie called me the following Sunday. I almost let it go to voicemail, but answered because her texts had been direct and brief, not dramatic. I owe you an apology, she said. You already said that. Not properly. She sounded nervous. I laughed along. I thought it was couple teasing. Then in the smaller chat, I thought she was venting. I should have questioned it when it kept making you the punchline. I leaned against the kitchen counter. The laptop was closed for once. I appreciate that. I'm not asking you to make me feel better, she said. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And Vanessa told us things that weren't true. Did you confront her? Yes. How did that go? She said I betrayed her by not understanding the context. That sounds right. Melanie gave a sad little laugh. I told her context doesn't make boring but useful better. I didn't know what to say to that. Then she added, for what it's worth, a few of us stepped back from the bridal party. Not because of the file only. Because when we asked her direct questions, she kept trying to make it about your reaction. That didn't make me happy exactly. It made me feel less crazy. Thank you for telling me, I said. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Me too. I meant both things. Some friends apologized. Some disappeared. Some sent careful messages like, I hope you're both healing, which is what people say when they want credit for compassion without choosing a side. One person told me I should have handled it privately. I told him I had tried. He said public exposure was still harsh. Maybe he was right. Maybe I should have spoken louder sooner, before I needed a file at all. I've thought about that more than I expected. The wedding was canceled officially through a short message Vanessa and I agreed on after arguing over 3 drafts. Due to personal circumstances, the wedding will not be moving forward. We appreciate the love and support and ask for privacy. It was bland, but it did the job. Privately, people already knew more. Vanessa didn't lose everyone. That's not how consequences work. Some people stayed close to her. Some probably believed I was cold. Some believed we were both wrong. But she lost the easy version of the room. She lost the group that automatically laughed because she was charming. She lost the ability to call herself the sole architect of a life she had been building with my hands. Carol lost face too, which may have bothered her more than anything. For months, she had praised Vanessa's vision, Vanessa's effort, Vanessa's gift for improving people. Now relatives were asking why Vanessa's vision had my email attached to it, why my card had covered deposits, why the corrected seating notes had come from my printer, and why she had repeated claims she never verified. Carol never apologized to me. I didn't expect her to. A month after the canceled wedding, I found one last box of wedding stuff in the closet. Inside were extra envelopes, a folder of vendor notes, 2 unused rolls of stamps, and a sample menu with Vanessa's handwriting on one side and mine on the other. For a while, I sat on the floor with that menu in my hand. There had been real love in parts of it. That's the thing people don't always understand. Bad relationships aren't bad every second. Vanessa had held my hand in hospital waiting rooms. She had remembered tiny details about my coffee order. She had made ordinary weekends feel like something worth dressing up for. I didn't invent the good parts to justify staying. They existed. But so did the cost. I had learned to laugh before anyone checked whether I was hurt. I had learned to explain her tone, soften her words, cover her mistakes, fund her image, and then stand quietly while she used that image to prove I was lucky she chose me. I helped create the pattern by staying silent too long. I know that. Every time I laughed along, someone else learned it was safe to laugh. Every time I fixed something without asking for credit, I taught Vanessa she could take it. Every time I accepted, "You're too sensitive," as an answer, I made the next conversation harder. But my silence did not make her cruelty honest. My patience did not turn her lies into jokes. My love did not obligate me to become smaller, so she could feel impressive. I recycled the extra envelopes. I kept copies of the financial records because practical peace still requires paperwork. Then I put the ring box in a drawer until I could decide what to do with it without anger making the decision for me. People still ask why I didn't just call off the wedding quietly. The answer is simple. Quietly was how she built the lie. Publicly was where she spent it. I didn't leave because she made one joke. I left because I finally understood I had become the punchline, the wallet, the editor, the calendar, the backup plan, and the quiet stagehand for someone who still told everyone I brought nothing. So I gave her exactly that, nothing more. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.